everybody, welcome back to Taji's World of Books and welcome to another book recommendation video. Hey you guys, welcome back. And so this is my fourth installation of Christine Feehan's The Dark series. This is my final. I finally finished all of the books in this series. And I have 7 books to get through, and that will complete. This is amazing to me that I believe Dark Prince started in 1999 is when she wrote it. And the final book, Dark Song, she just put out in 2020, and no, 2021. Yeah, 2021. And then, so the series is ongoing, and so the next book is due to be out in September of 2022. And that is Dark Tarot. And let me start off by saying, you guys, if you guys have followed my channel and have been watching me, you know that like I set the bar very high for paranormal romance, and I think I put paranormal romance and vampire specifically at the Immortals After Dark series. Like, I absolutely love Immortals After Dark. Like, that is like Cressley Cole. I put her at the top of the list. This, and then also J.R. Ward, you know, and her vampire series as well, the Black Dagger Brotherhood. And so I have to say, as these books have gone on, you know, obviously when you start in 1999, the way that you write is a little bit differently than how you write like in 2021. And so as these books go on, they become so good. And if you guys want like paranormal romance and you want the creme de la creme of paranormal romance, it's Cressley Cole, J.R. Ward, and Christine Feehan with the Dark series. Hands down, I'm not hearing enough about it. You guys have got to get on the train. And these last 7 books that I'm talking, like some of my favorites are in these books. And these start in 2015, and then they go through currently, and like I said, it's an ongoing series. She's been writing these series for 20 years. I love all the cameos. I love series that I can delve into where there is a huge cast, lots of characters, lots of dialogue, lots of interaction, cameos, people coming in, you know, newfound families. I love alpha heroes. I like that I can pick like little nuances throughout the series, and this delivers in spades. And these books that I'm going to talk about now are all amazing, except for one, because the heroine got on my nerves and she pissed me off. But we all know that that happens with me. But aside from that, I'm going to dive right in and start talking about Dark Ghost. I absolutely love this. This is Tegan and Andre's story. And it starts off that she is, you know, off on a trek, and she is looking for a particular crystal. Tegan, she's looking for a particular crystal that can only be found in the Carpathian Mountains. And she asks one of her college buddies, this guy that she's become friends with because he goes on expeditions all the time, to help her. And this guy turns out to be a serial rapist, and he attacks her while they're on this trek. And she's up there in the Carpathian Mountains with this dude that she's known for like 5 years, like 7 years, who's never shown anything like this. And he has turned out to be this evil bad guy. And so to make a long story short, she escapes him, but she's badly wounded. And as she escapes him, she has this tremendous pull towards this particular cave. And she follows this pull, and she thinks it's because it's this crystal that she's looking for that's going to heal her grandmother, because that's the whole purpose of her going on this trek. And as she has this pull towards this cave, she then discovers Andre. This is the first time that we are introduced to, and I love like on the inside, like old school, like look, this is the cave that she finds. It's like all the old school books like this, like have like this really cool like internal cover, and that's the cave that she discovers. Anyway, so this is the first time now that we are introduced to this monastery where the ancients are. And these are like, remember I said like every book there's a character that's even more powerful than the previous Carpathian. And so Andre comes from this, he stays at this monastery, and what we learn is that this monastery was made up of monks and Carpathians that are so old and so ancient that they no longer feel anything. Because remember, after 200 years, when you don't find your life mate, you lose all emotionality, you lose all color, you lose any kind of, like, you just are disconnected. And if you go on too long like that and you make the ultimate kill just to feel something, some rush of power, that's how you turn to become a vampire. So because these ancients are so noble and want to protect the Carpathian people, they absolutely have said, we are not going to do this. And so we're going to band together. We're going to stay at this monastery and we're going to elect one of us as the leader. The leader is Feehan. We'll see Feehan in a minute. We're going to elect Feehan as the leader, and Feehan is going to be the one who's going to go out and feed. Remember, Carpathians they're very humane. When they feed, they, you know, make it a very pleasant experience for the human, and they leave them in the same shape that they left them. And so they go feed, and Feehan comes back and feeds all the rest of them, and they chant and they try to preserve and give themselves more time to prevent, because if they turn vampire, it's going to be detrimental not only for the Carpathian people, but it's also going to be detrimental to the humankind, because these guys, the older you are, the more powerful you become. And so they are so powerful that it just is like not going to happen. They'll be deadly to everybody. Okay, so Tegan then stumbles upon Andre, and Andre has been in a battle, and she stumbles upon him, and she thinks that he's dead. And she's like, because he's managed to like drag himself into this cave, cover himself with part soil, and he's just there. And she's like, oh my God. And so he's like dreaming, and he like, all of a sudden, he's like dreaming in color, and he's like, I've dreamt of my life mate. Like, is this heaven? Like, what's happened? And then through some freak happening, he realizes like, no, she really is here. And I know that because she's like, stay right here. She realizes that he's not dead because he like gives some fluttering of his eyes. She's like, I'm gonna go get my pack, and and she's really wounded herself because she was just attacked by this crazy dickhead. So she's like, stay right here, like, dude's going anywhere. And she like goes and gets her pack, and he wakes up and he's like, I smell her. She's here. I know she's here. And so she makes her way back, and their story begins from there. And it is absolutely hands down amazing. Like, this is when you then find out about the monastery. You start to find out about Feehan, the leader. They are like, you are a powerful healer. She's able to give them through some crystals, like, you know, a piece of like acceptance and like calmness that's going to help these other ancients. And there's a bunch of ancients at this monastery that are like at the end, and they're like, you're with a woman, and Andre, you found your mate. Like, how is this possible? And so she gives them a little bit of hope. So that's a 5 out of 5 star for sure. Then let me come to this one. I loved this book so much. I have been waiting for this book for like 10 books, okay? This is Gary Dara-Trazanov. He was Gary Jensen. He has now, so we now learn that when a male is turned, because everybody that's been turned has been a female psychic. Okay, so Gary is now a male who has been turned into a Carpathian. But in order to do that, the ancestors of whoever's sponsoring him, in this case it's Grigory Dara-Trazanov, is sponsoring him. So all of Grigory's ancestors have to accept Gary, and they have to imprint the binding words on the male soul. So it's really, really damning, and it's very difficult, okay, for a male. It's just not done. Okay, so Gary is now turned, and he's Carpathian, and this is Gabrielle's story. And Gabrielle was turned into a Carpathian. She's the sister of Joy and Tryan, who is her life mate. We saw them in Dark Descent. Okay, and Jubal is her brother, so we saw him in Dark Descent. So now she's turned, and now this is their story. And it starts off with them, she's getting ready, she's with Joy. She's getting ready for her wedding to Gary, and there are like, she's all decked out. She gets all these pieces that are something borrowed, something old, something blue, something new. And so things that were discovered in a cave back in Dark Descent, she gets one of these weapons because she's got jaguar blood and mage blood. She gets one of these weapons. If you read the stories, you'll know. Okay, so she gets it. They go off to the field of flowers because it's like the fertility field, and shit goes down. And I'm not going to tell you what happens because it is amazing, and you're on the edge of your seat, and you're like, what the hell's going on? What's happening here? Oh my God, it's super amazing. And the way that it happens, it's heartbreaking and beautiful and wonderful. And I don't want to say too much, but they're back at the monastery. And so while they're at the monastery, then Trixie, who is looking for her granddaughter, who is Tegan, is like, I'm coming up the mountain and I'm gonna find you because now you've told me that you're marrying this foreigner and I don't know what the heck is going on. We don't do that in Louisiana, and so I'm coming to find you and you just stay there and I'll be there in a minute. So she's on her way up the mountain and she's like 60 years old, but she's like coming up the mountain. And so Trixie gets there and Trixie meets Feehan. So in this story, we've got Gary, we've got Gabrielle, we got Trixie, we got Feehan. Okay, so when Trixie gets up there, I'm not gonna tell you about Gary and all that other stuff, but I gotta tell you that the relationship with Gabrielle is beautiful. And I love the way he treats her. I love the way because Gabrielle can't make decisions for herself. Gabrielle is scared. Gabrielle needs an alpha dude to like direct her. And an alpha, she gets like next level alpha. Let me just say that. Okay, so then Trixie is there and Trixie meets up with Feehan, and so immediately he's got color. And so between Trixie and Tegan from this book, they pull out their crystals and their psychic powers and they meet. And Gabrielle, because Gabrielle's gift that she was given when she was turned is that she can tell where anybody is. If you give her a map, she can tell you where that person is. So they get their crystals together, they meet and give each of the ancients some piece, and they give them all direction where their life mate is. So it gives them hope. So these are people that have locked themselves away, you know, 1,000 years ago, 200 years ago, many, many years ago, because they thought that there was never going to be hope for them to find their life mates. So now all of a sudden they're like, your life mate is in France, your life mate is in Northern California, your life mate is over here. And so these ancients are like, we're going to get our mates, we want to get our emotions back. So this book is so good. It's a 5 out of 5 star for sure. Okay, so then Dark Carousel, this is Charlotte and Tariq and his story. And Tariq is he's a club owner, and he has moved to the United States, and he basically has lived there for generations upon generations, and he's established like a stronghold of Carpathians in the United States. And he basically comes across Charlotte, and Charlotte, I love it because Charlotte restores carousels. Look how beautiful that is. And he collects carousels. And so they come across each other, and Charlotte is best friends with one of the other characters. I can't remember. She's best friends with another character in here. And at any rate, I love it because this story is about new family, found family. There's adopted kids in here that they've saved. They go on this mission. They find this underground vampire lair, and they're gonna rescue all these kids from this underground lair. They also find in this underground lair another ancient Carpathian named Val, and Val is like, they were looking for him and couldn't find him, and he's been abducted and tortured for years upon years. So this is so beautiful, and they're trying to figure out how the vampires are breaking through their safeguards, and something happens to Charlotte, and Tariq has to like save her. And so it is really, really good. Again, a 5 out of 5 star. You're building, building, building. Now we're starting to see the other ancients start to appear that have come, you know. Oh, her best friend is Emmeline. And so Emmeline has psychic powers, and Emmeline is the one who directs them to go to these underground caverns, and she's like, I have to go there. I don't know why, but I'm drawn there and I have to go there. And so Vadim, who is one of the most evil vampires, he's part of the Malinoff brothers, he basically knows that she's there and he wants her, and he tries to abduct her, and he's alone with her for a period of time, and they try to save her, and they ultimately do save her, but he does something to her, and she's severely traumatized as a result of it, and she won't talk to anybody. She now at the end of the book isolates herself, and all kinds of stuff happens. So we are waiting for Emmeline to find out what's going on, but this is a 5 out of 5 star. Okay, so then Dark Legacy then is, we're wanting to know what happened with Emmeline, and so this is Emmeline's story, and it's Emmeline with Dragomir. And so Dragomir discovers, because Emmeline has been avoiding him, and very like accidentally Dragomir discovers that she is his life mate. And he basically, you want to talk about alpha. Dragomir is an ancient. He was like discovered in that earlier book that his life mate was in Northern California, and he came and heard the call of Tariq and decided to stop off here to help out. And lo and behold, he's been there for the previous book during Dark Carousel, and Emmeline has hidden out from him, and now in Dark Legacy, he's like, you have kept yourself from me, you're my life mate. And the minute he discovers that she is his life mate, he takes over, because nobody can get her to open up. She's isolated herself in her house. She's lost a tremendous amount of weight. Something is wrong and something is off, and he's like, I am gonna step in, and as your life mate, I can do nothing but help you to survive this, and we're gonna get through this together. And then as he's in the house with her, and he won't let anybody else come in, and he safeguards her, and she automatically, for the first time in months, has felt safe and felt like she's gonna be okay and everything's gonna be fine. And then he's like, wait, you told me we were alone. He's like, who else is here? He's like, I hear somebody else here. Who is that? Who? And she protectively covers her womb. And he's like, Emmeline, sit down. Tell me what he did to you. What happened? And she tells him what happened, and Dragomir is like, no one will ever hurt you again. I am here. I will protect you. I will protect our baby. That is our baby. Vadim is not going to get anywhere near that baby, and we will do whatever we have to do. And he binds her to him immediately, and then he becomes her safeguard, because she's terrified that she's going to get kicked out of the compound, because Tariq is going to find out that Vadim has assaulted her and impregnated her, and it's just going to be awful and terrible. And Dragomir is like, you are my life mate, and you were with me, and no one will touch you. And it is beautiful. It is so, so good. 5 out of 5 star for sure. Okay, so then this is the next book in the series. This is Dark Sentinel. This is the first time that I got like, cause like, remember, these are ancients. So this is all like the story of all the ancients that have come out of the monastery now. And this is Andor, it's Andor's story. So this is Lorraine and Andor. And you know, he finds Lorraine, and Lorraine is basically, she is a lethal combination of courage and cunning, okay? She is the combination of a modern woman with an ancient man. And so she has a traumatic past in that she discovered her family was murdered by her brother, and her brother committed suicide. And so she is deeply troubled. Now the problem is that she discovers Andor after a battle, and Andor is basically dying, and she comes and like protects him, and she's got a lot of martial arts training. So she like, it's kind of funny because like when she comes on the scene and these vampires are there trying to kill Andor, and Andor is basically no, it's not the vampires, I'm sorry. These vampire hunters that are humans basically have staked him, and she's like, I have come out here on a retreat, and I am trying to meditate, and I'm trying not to be violent, and what the hell are you guys doing? You guys are staking this dude over here and trying to kill him. And she's got this sauce pot because she went to the river to get water. So she's got this sauce pot, and she basically kicks these guys' ass with this damn pot. And she's just like, now that's what you get for making me angry when I'm supposed to be out here on a retreat meditating. How dare you? And she is like indignant, and it's hilarious. The problem with Lorraine is that Lorraine has to know everything. She has to know every detail of everything, because it helps her to control her anxiety, to like have all the details, and then she can make a good decision. The problem is everybody around her is like, oh, Jesus, Lorraine. And Andor is like really patient with her because he is the life mate, and life mates are supposed to know everything that you need, and they're gonna provide you with everything that you need. But Lorraine is like, she has to be on par with Andor. Like it has to be, you know, like an equal partnership, even though he's thousands of years old and battle hard and battle worn and a general and all of these things. But like, she's like 25 years old, but of course she's as smart and as talented and as lethal and as and I'm like, I don't buy it. So this is the first time that I gave it a 3, because her character just, I don't like her. She gets on my nerves. She doesn't trust Andor. She has to question everything, and she makes a lot of bad decisions that, even though Andor tells her don't do that, he gives her lots of leeway to do that, and she like creates a big old mess. But God forbid if anybody were to say anything to her, it's like, you curtailing my rights as a woman. Well, you know, I'm curtailing your rights to be a damn idiot. Like, stop putting everybody else on the compound at risk just because you need to show everybody you know what you're doing. I don't give a shit. We're a community. Like, whatever, Lorraine. You get on my nerves. Okay, so then Dark Illusion. So now Dark Illusion, this is Julia, or Julia, and Issa's story. And Julia is Carpathian and mage, and she's connected to some other characters in some other books. Go back and follow the lineage. And then he is Carpathian and ancient, and they discover each other kind of by accident because they're tracking this evil book that has been spelled, and they need to find it and track it down. And make a long story short, they discover each other, and he realizes that she's his mate, and he binds her to himself very quickly. They're intimate, but then he very quickly realizes, because she's snippy and nasty and snarky and just not at all what he wanted, because he wanted a submissive woman, because he's used to the old ways of how women sort of handle things. He's like, you're not my life mate. Like, this is something, I'm too old. I'm going to go back to the monastery. Don't worry about it. And the minute he decides that he's not going to claim her, she's like, why not? Well, why? And so, like, the story develops from there, and so they decide to work together in a partnership to discover this book. And it's over time they start to discover that they do have a lot of commonality, and you start to see that she is such a tortured soul because she was so abused in her past and so hurt and so harmed that she needs protection and guidance and support. And they also have these beautiful relationships with these shadow cats, and I love the interaction between Issa and the shadow cats and Julia, and it's beautiful, and it's an amazing story, and this is a 4 out of 5 for sure. Really good. Now, Julia was held captive by Sergio, whatever his name is. She was held captive with Elisabetta. They escaped together. Elisabetta was held captive by one of the Malinoff brothers for a millennia, like forever. And so now, because they are discovered, they bring her back to the compound and they put Elisabetta into the ground. Elisabetta is like not able to communicate and speak with anybody because she's never been allowed to. So at the end of this book, we discover that Pharaoh, who is one of the oldest ancients, is Elisabetta's mate. And that becomes this story. And Pharaoh, right before he discovers that Elisabetta is his mate, decides that he is going to basically, he's like, I'm not fit for this century. I'm not fit to be anybody's mate. I am too set in my ways. I'm too old. I'm too ancient. No modern woman is ever going to want to be with me because I'm going to expect my woman to obey. And I'm going to expect her to follow my rule. And I'm the master of the house. And I know that I'm not going to put that on anybody. So I'm just going to finish out this battle and I'm out. I'm going to go back to the monastery and protect the world from me, you know, because that's all I can do. So then he discovers Elisabetta is his mate. And Elisabetta, because she's been held prisoner, she doesn't even know how to walk. She doesn't know how to dress herself. She doesn't know how to feed herself. She doesn't even know how to speak because she wasn't allowed to speak unless she was given clear instructions. So it is very clear that she needs a mate who is going to give her clear rules, clear direction, clear guidance on what to do. And I was a little bit worried about this book, right? Because this is a tough place to put a person in, right, in 2021. And the way that Christine Feehan does this is beautiful. Pharaoh, oh my God, he is everything that Elisabetta needs and could ever want in a mate. And he is so patient and so calm and so loving towards her. He gives her everything, even to the point of everybody else perceives that he's being a caveman and a dominating asshole, and they want to pull her away from him to protect her, when in fact Elisabetta, needs this from him in order to survive. And I loved this book so much. I loved it. You guys, it is amazing. So not only did I love that most of this was about his helping her to heal through, I'm not going to say BDSM, but being like a dominant. Like, he definitely is a dominant. He saves her and gives her strength and confidence and courage to be who she is by being a dominant. But I also loved it because there's this battle that occurs, and almost everybody from the Carpathian Mountains, these major couples like Jouet and Tryon, you got Alexei and somebody else, and you got, you know, all these other characters from all these other books that have all come together. You had the Dark Troubadours, you've got Desiree and her mate, and you've got, you know, Darius, and you've got Diane, you've got all these other guys from all these other books that we love that have all come together to support these ancients and destroying this ancient evil. And they work together to come into the modern world, to develop technology, to work together, to secure safety for the Carpathian people as well as the modern world and humans. And it just all comes together so well in this book. I cannot tell you that this book is going to rate up there with some of my favorite all-time alpha heroes. Like, I loved Pharaoh so much because if I were to go through a severe trauma and had this terrible thing happen to me and needed to overcome, I would want Pharaoh by my side as my mate to support me and help me through this. He is everything and then some. I cannot speak more about Pharaoh. I absolutely loved him. You guys, so that, I made it through 32 books of the Dark series by Christine Feehan. It was a great ride. You want to talk about alphas? These alpha dudes are alpha, but they are going to protect you and keep you safe and be everything that you need at all costs, regardless of what anybody else says. And I love these books so much. It was a great ride. It was a fun ride. I cannot wait for Dark Tarot to come out. That's going to be the next book in the series. And they're great. Don't sleep on them. I don't hear enough people talking about Christine Feehan, and she did a great job with this. So, having said that, that is all that I have for today. And you know I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so come back and hang out with me for some more recommendations, you guys. Thank you for joining me. Bye!